My call back here on BTN Live. We bring back in the Rutgers head coach now, Kyle Flood. Kyle, let's get some personal stuff about you. What was the highest level you played football, and what was your position?
Well, that's a little bit of a loaded question. I'm sure you've seen my bio. I was very fortunate. You know, I played at a high school program at St. Francis Prep in Queens, where Coach DiNardo is from as well. And for really a legend of a high school coach, Vinny O'Connor, he's been there, I think, 61 years now. Is the current stay. He's still the head coach there. And then I went to a small private school, Iona College, and played Division III football. And I started for 2 seasons, and I was a right offensive tackle when I was playing there. First team All-Liberty Conference, 1991.
Give me the scouting report on Kyle Flood, the O-lineman.
Well, I think the people that watched the film would probably say I was very well served for coaching.
What other sports did you play?
Oh, I grew up in New York City, and I think anybody who grew up in New York City, you know, they grew up playing baseball and basketball, and I was actually the first person in my family that ever played football, organized football at any level. So it was exciting for me to do it. My mother was a huge football fan growing up, and that's probably what sparked, you know, my interest in the game. But until I got to high school, it was all baseball and basketball.
Whether it was throwing a no-hitter or your first dunk or a hole-in-the-one, what's your best athletic achievement of your life?
Well, you know, I don't know if there were many dunks, but there's certainly, you know, I got a chance in high school to be a part of a city championship team, and again, I went to a high school with a lot of tradition, and when you got a chance to be a part of a championship team at my high school, it meant a lot, and that was probably the most significant team goal that I was fortunate to be a part of as a player.
When did you realize you wanted to be a coach?
You know, I knew at a very early age that coaching was going to be in my future, and probably as a sophomore or junior in high school, I had already made the decision that I wanted to be a high school teacher, and I wanted to be a coach. And I was very fortunate at 22 years old that I got an opportunity to be a high school math teacher, teaching 5 classes a day of algebra and trig, and then coaching on the varsity at my high school. And that was really my dream job. And I've been very fortunate now, twice in my life, to have my dream job. Once when I was 22 to be teaching and coaching back at my high school, and then a couple of years ago when I became the head football coach at Rutgers.
You mentioned high school math. What other jobs have you had in your life besides football coach?
You know, when I was in college, I did what I think probably a lot of college students did. You know, working in restaurants and things like that to make a few bucks. But my dad did a lot of contracting on the side. And growing up, I worked with my father, and you know, we learned to put down rugs, and he did roofs and plumbing and electric, and he was very handy. I can't say that I could do them all, but I ended up being pretty good at the physical labor part of it.
What goes through your mind the night before a football game?
You know, the night before a game, I think you're just really checking back over the plan. You know, we have a series of meetings and a routine that we get into, and we're very routine driven, and I think probably most football coaches are at that point. And you're just trying to make sure that in your mind you've gone over all the situations that you can anticipate, and then you've got a contingency plan for the ones that you can't anticipate. But I'm pretty relaxed the night before the game, and excited certainly about the next day.
What's your pregame ritual?
I would say the only problem, I'm not really a superstitious person. The only pregame ritual I really have is that I get up and I run in the morning, and that gives me a chance to get a half hour on the treadmill and focus my mind early in the morning before I go to the team breakfast. But other than that, you know, it's the normal pregame ritual that we do with our team. We have a little bit of a team meeting before we leave the hotel. You know, we arrive here at High Point Solutions Stadium, and we go through the Scarlet Walk, and there's an unbelievable amount of fans there to greet us, and the band is there, and the Spirit Squad, and that's really, I think, when the real excitement of game day begins for us.
I know you spend the majority of your time in the football building or on the football field. But again, for our audience who hasn't been to Rutgers, give us an idea of the campus there. What's your favorite spot to go to on campus?
You know, my favorite spot on campus is right down at the base of the tunnel before you come out to the field on game day, because just to my left is the student section. And they're there, and they are such a tremendous force and such a big source of excitement on game day for us as a football program. That's kind of my favorite spot because I get a chance. The players might be out there starting their warm-ups, and I get a chance to watch the students come in and to see the excitement on their face. I don't know if there's a better place on campus to be than right at the base of that tunnel on game day.
Take a second and tell me something we'd be surprised to learn about you.
Well, I think, in my profession, a lot of times, to get to where you want to be, if you have aspirations of being a head coach, you have to move to a lot of different places. And I think the one thing about my career that's been a little bit unique is that I've spent most of it in the Northeast. And I started out as a high school coach in New York City, and then coached at a Division II and a 1AA program on Long Island, and then worked at the University of Delaware for 3 years. And then I came to Rutgers 9 seasons ago. And there's not a lot of coaches that I look at their resumes or you see them in the media guide that they can say they've been able to kind of work their way up without going across the country. But I've been able to do it. And I love the fact that I've been able to do it because even though I didn't grow up in New Jersey, I grew up very close to here in Queens. But now I have 3 children at home that all grew up in New Jersey. And there's no place that I'd rather be than right here at Rutgers.
Why do you love football, Kyle?
I love football because it's a unique opportunity to take a large group of people and get them all working together for one goal. And each group has their own job, whether it's the offensive line that I used to coach or the linebackers, the secondary, the defensive line. Everybody has a job to do and everybody has a role within the program. But you're really taking over 100 people on the team, a coaching staff, a support staff, and trying to move everybody in the same direction. It's a tremendous challenge and something that I really enjoy every day when I come to work.
Kyle Flood, the head coach at Rutgers. Thanks for letting us get to know you a little bit. I'm sure we'll be talking to you throughout the spring.
I look forward to it. Thanks for having me on, guys.